Brad Jones, National Federation of Independent Businesses. Brad, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. So let's just do the facts. What happens when a small business owner is forced to pay his employees more than potentially what that job might be worth? What happens?
Well, first of all, good morning, Brandon. It's great being on with you guys and Brian. And Brian and John have harassed me for years.
They told me. And they told me.
And they're the ones that made me get on at 7:30 on a Monday morning. So, and Marsh will tell you that's a minor miracle in itself. So
yes, it
there
is.
you go.
So how does minimum wages, how does this affect, thinking, let's say we got a small business owner and they're in a Holt Summit and they're doing everything they can to make things work. And Missouri says, well, now you got to pay this and a couple of years it's going to go up again. How does it affect, let's say, a small business in Holt Summit?
Well, let me tell you, there are consequences every time that you raise your wage rates, or you are asked or mandated to raise your wage rates. There are consequences, and there are decisions that a small business owner has to make. And what are some of those decisions? I mean, this really, Brandon, gets down, unfortunately, not everybody has had Econ 101, but this gets down to a real nitty-gritty Econ 101 situation. If you raise your rates, what you're going to have to do is, when you push on the bubble, it has to come out somewhere. So what happens? Okay, well, first of all, if you can, you raise your prices. And so look at where we are right now. We're looking at every small business dealing with a 6 to 8% inflation rate. So there's whammy number one. Number two, you're going to have to look at your overall labor situation as far as how many people you've got on staff, and you're going to have to look at, okay, can I really do this? Does it work out at the end of the week? Am I still going to make payroll, and are we going to still be able to keep this thing afloat? I might have to cut her hours by 5 to 10 hours a week, of which she then makes less, although she has gotten a raise up to $12 an hour, and that's what Missouri went to because of Proposition B in 2018. We went from $7.75 to $12 as of a week ago. And so that's another decision that business owner has to make. Number three is sort of the nuclear option. I've got 10 people working here. I think I can only probably use 9, given the fact that I've just had to increase my wages for everybody, and that's another issue. Then you have wage inflation, Brandon, because you might have people that were at $12 an hour, and they're like, well, now wait a minute, why am I not going to 13 or 14? And so what you have here is the recipe, or one of the recipes for inflation. And we have inflation going on right now. Now, there's another issue, too, that we're dealing with. We're actually dealing with a triple whammy with small business people right now, because you've also still got small business folks that are having trouble with the supply chain. So if you look at it from this standpoint, also that we've got 3.3 or 3.4% unemployment, and we're having a horrible time trying to even get people to come to work, and consequently we're having to be competitive and to get people to work, we're actually having to pay them more, which also fuels inflation. You kind of see that it's not just one thing, but it's a series of things that we're in right now that I know what some of the economists are talking about. We're probably going to go into a recession. All of these things combined, especially the timing of it is what's really upsetting for small business people, because we came out of this, or semi came out of the pandemic, And frankly, we did lose a lot of small businesses during the pandemic, but those that were able to pivot and to juke and jive and keep the lights on came through that somewhat. And now, it's kind of like out of the fire and into the frying pan, because you've got this economy right now that is just not very friendly for small business owners right now.
It's like,
so it's kind of a long answer,
sure,
but it's an Econ 101 answer. It really is.
And it's the truth. It's the stuff that really happens. In my mind, it's like circular idiocy. So you've got somebody, oh, look, I got more money because my minimum wage went up. And then they go to the restaurant to go buy food somewhere. And they're like, why are the prices going up here on the Big Mac? Well, because those employees, too, see, they got minimum wage raises. And so now, see, your money is not worth as much as it was. Our guest this morning, Brad Jones, NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses.
Brad, what are you hearing from your members reference the cuts to drop the tax rate in the first $1,000 in income from taxes, making that exempt?
Well, they're excited about that, John. We've got about 70% of all the businesses now are either as a sub-S or an LLC. So they're what they call pass-through companies. And so whatever happens to the individual income tax affects so many of those small businesses. And I was intrigued the other day listening to our brand new speaker's comments, the fact that since the state of Missouri is rather flush right now with money, that there is a possibility of further tax cuts this session. Honestly, I thought after dropping it to the 4.95 that we did in the special session, I thought, well, that may just take taxes off the table for this session. But his comments sort of it piqued a lot of ears. I think a lot of people said, "Oh, really? Okay." So, but yeah, that's the issue, John, with so many of our members that are organized in that way, that anything you do, especially lowering the individual income tax, is a good thing for small business people.
One of the stories we have this morning, White Castle's newest employee is Flippy. Flippy cooks your burgers to perfection and serves up fries with the most splendid crisp for every single order. This is a robot, and this is at hundreds. This is not like a test. This is not some kind of, hey, let's try it out here. They are doing this at hundreds of locations nationwide. They're having a hard time keeping people in the minimum wage. We've seen what happens and how this affects people. Before we let you go, off of the minimum wage topic, Missouri small businesses, they account for the brunt of Missouri's economy. That's what makes the world go round here in mid-Missouri, especially. It's small local businesses. Some help.
Let me tell you to what degree, because the wonderful people over at Employment Security do a chart for me every couple of years, and we get it updated. And right now, if you look at the total number that have to file with them quarterly or monthly, you will see that almost 80% of the total number of all businesses in the state of Missouri have less than 10 employees.
Yeah,
which I think is fascinating. I really do. It kind of, people ask me all the time, what's a small business? I pull that chart out and I go, oh my gosh, you mean 70% have 5 or fewer employees? I said, yep, that's small business.
Because what do we do? And I think the majority of people kind of get it now, but we got to bring in a factory with a couple hundred or a couple thousand employees. Let's bring in a car manufacturing plant. It's small local businesses. Brad Jones, NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses. And if you're a small business owner, God bless you. I respect and admire that you're able to go out, take a shot at something and actually do it. Brad, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Hey, I'll be glad to do it anytime, Brandon. Just give me a buzz.
All right, we'll do that. Coming up.